do you do this? But and we can again we'll talk about the why. But I really enjoy it. I have a hard time seeing things any other way, and I feel like I found the right boundaries to make it all work that
Well,
we can get into.
you're in sort of a unique situation in that you have a job that you like. Most people have a job that they hate and they want
Right.
to get out of it, and they try and do something online, create sort of a different lifestyle. But you have both. So I'd be interested to know what your thoughts are working in a company that you like and running a business online. Is obviously there are pros and cons to both, but from your perspective, what's the difference between sort of a brick and mortar, I show up for work 40 hours a week versus having an online business?
I would say I definitely lean more to the entrepreneurial side. However, what I do as an engineer, I don't sit in a cube and crunch numbers. It's also fairly entrepreneurial. It's a fairly small company. I'm not an owner of that company, at least not yet, but we are a consulting firm. So it's a lot, and I work a lot with like commercial developers. It's pretty high pace. I mean, it's there's a huge variety day to day. It's profit driven also. So I don't see a huge disconnect in the mindset of the two.
Hmm.
It's just, the setting is obviously different. I have to work with team members there, whereas most of the things I do aside from working with Tony is pretty solo on the online business side.
Now,
So
how old are you?
I'm 32.
You're 32. So do you see yourself sort of as you're getting older leaning maybe more towards online, or do you see yourself still sort of split? Like, in other words, is there an exit strategy for you?
Yeah, it's a great question. To exit, it would have to be I'd have to get things up to another level online, and I really feel like Fit Marriage has that potential. It's in the 6 months it's been around, it's grown like crazy. Been very happy with that. So my question, because that's a question I ask myself. As you can imagine, I'm a real planner. I mean, I have
Yep.
three little kids.
Yep.
I'm an engineer, and I have all these things going on. So I'm always trying to take that long horizon look. Frankly, right now I'm not sure. I mean, I think in 5 years I'll probably still be doing the engineering gig, hopefully at the same firm. I really love it. And maybe I'll be in a little different position there. I could see myself going part-time engineering where I'm still managing a group, but I'm not doing any day-to-day projects, and I'm taking more of that higher level role, but on a part-time basis, if that becoms feasible, and then ramping up online. It's a tough question. It's one I
Well,
still struggle
I'll
with.
tell
So
you from the perspective of a guy that's close to 15 years older than you, with now a teenager.
sure.
And I'll tell you that, at 32, what I thought I would be doing at 42 is completely different. So I wrote a great blog post called "The Failure of the 10-Year Plan," and
I love it.
you have all these visions. I talk to all these 30-year-olds who have, this is my Excel spreadsheet of the next 10 years. And
Yep.
you look
Yep.
at, and the reality is, just think about where you were when you were 22. You had no, you weren't even close to,
Oh, geez. No.
you know what I mean?
Not even close.
Not
And
even
for that,
close.
and for that matter, 2 years ago, I mean, I like I told you, engage this whole online world opened up to me only 2 years ago with engaged marriage, and then fit marriage being only 6 months old and being set up much more from a business standpoint. I've seen the power of that. But yeah, I mean, geez, when I was 30, I had no idea what I'd be doing at 32. I would have never guessed I'd have two online businesses, one in fitness and one in marriage.
It's just
And
tough, yeah.
I'm at a different firm on the engineering side than I was at that time. We have another child. So yeah, I mean, life will do what life's going to do, but I mean, we try to plan and try to set things up to be in place when we get there.
So, out of all the online businesses that you could have chosen to go into, you chose to go into the world of fitness. I mean, other than how to make money online, I can't imagine that there is a more maybe dog training, but I can't imagine that there's a more competitive market. So, what's your thoughts on it? Is it super competitive? Is it difficult, or is it just that you have a big passion for it and you don't care?
The way I look at it is obviously it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, but that's a good thing. To me, it means that there's obviously a need for that, particularly in the U.S. I mean, with the obesity epidemic and there's just a huge overall problem that needs to be solved. But the way I look at it is I'm not intimidated by the competition because I'm not trying to be the next Beachbody, the makers are like P90X. I'm not trying to be that next big corporate. serve everyone kind of company. Our whole mission and goal is to serve this audience that we understand very well, which is these married couples, people with young kids who have kind of lost that before baby body. They want to get it back. The guy's 30 like me. He lost a step in basketball. He's getting injured, and they're fed up with it. And they want to rewind the clock 5 or 10 years on their fitness levels. So we've defined a very specific niche, a very specific group of people that we want to serve, and there aren't many people serving those folks online. So I think we have a unique voice. So despite all the huge craze of fitness, particularly online, we're different. And we serve different clientele, and I think that's been a key to the growth so far.
So what advice would you give to someone that's, listening to this interview right now and says, I got an idea. I've got an idea for something. I want to go online. I'm working. I may or may not like my job. I'm just kind of concerned about, I don't know anything. I don't even know what a blog is. I don't
Sure.
know how to get traffic to my site, and I don't know how to, sell anything. And, this is so overwhelming to me. What advice would you give to them?
Well, I mean, on a couple of things. I think from the standpoint of they have an idea for an online business, without getting into the details, it's very easy to do. There's virtually no barrier to entry. I mean, for under $100, you could be up and running. You do need some advice, and I mean, Jet Set Money is probably a good resource for that. There's other ones out there. There's no shortage of good advice, for how to get started. But kind of looking a little bigger picture than that, I would just make sure it's something you're passionate about. I mean, people have some success running little niche sites about products they don't care about, and that's okay, but you have to do a lot of that. For me, the choice was more, who are the people that I relate to the best, and how can I serve them? And I found 2 different ways so far to serve those same people. And people, even though it's online, I mean, people can really perceive passion, and they can tell if you're the real deal and that you really care about them, just in the way that you conduct your business. And that's going to shine through a lot more in something you actually care about. So bottom line, find something that you actually care about, and then go, invest a little bit, get some training so that you can get up and running pretty quickly. And then work hard. I mean, if you have a day job, I mean, I'm going through that still. I get up early. I work in the morning. I get my exercise in, so I'm not a hypocrite. And then I get to the other job, and I do some at night, usually more interviews and things like that. But it is hard work. And if you're married and you have a family, you need to communicate that up front so your spouse knows what they're getting into.
All right, so we are going to find out the question that everybody wants to know. How does Dustin make money? So for now, I want to wrap up the first part of this interview for our podcast listeners. And I want to take Dustin over to inside our Jet Set Money membership to do the second half of our interview. And if anybody would like to become a Jet Set Money member, all you have to do is go to getjetsetmoney.com and sign up. Dustin, if people want to follow you, get a hold of you, check out your websites, what's the best way that they can do it?
Yeah, I mean, naturally, I'm all over the place with Facebook, Twitter, and all those things. But the easiest way, just come over to fitmarriage.com. My email address is Dustin, Dustin, @fitmarriage.com. And from there, you'll find everything else.
All right, Dustin, thanks so much.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me on.
That's it for this episode of the Lifestyle Design Confessions podcast. Remember, if you want to get a jump start on creating the income to live your jet-set life using our proven system, you can claim your risk-free trial membership to Jet Set Money by going to getjetsetmoney.com. And remember, excuses are over. It's time to live.